Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulmilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Manupetya Apetya Krityam Rapayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Taravo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tuto Jayam Udirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptashtikamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanda Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, we're going to continue hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and we're going to first offer our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nitya Lila Pavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tarasat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the same grateful heartfelt obeisance unto the lotus feet of Sri Guru Pada Padma Nitya Lila Pavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tarasat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and unto our exalted Rupanuga Varga, all the Sama Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Okay, so we have been hearing now, in the last couple of weeks, about the appearance of Sri Krishna, beautiful pastimes there, and now having read from Srimad Bhagavatam, we read Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, and now we read Srimad Bhagavatam with commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Krishna's been born, Nandotsava has been celebrated, Nanda Maharaj offered charity in Vrindavan to the Brahmanas and all worthy recipients, and then he, to the demigods as well, forefathers, everybody that's prescribed in Vedic rites that you give charity to, he's done, and now he's gone to Mathura to go pay tax to King Kamsa. And at that time, he also met, Vasudeva came to visit him at the place that Nanda was staying. And they had a discussion, and Vasudeva was not ready to share with him that the son that Nanda Maharaj has, he thinks is his own son. He doesn't understand the tattva that that we discussed, that Krishna appeared simultaneously in his original form in the house of Nanda Maharaj, took birth there. They actually, from the womb, had an umbilical cord. They did all that ceremony. See, the thing is, even though it's not directly stated in the Bhagavatam, it's stated in other ways, in a hidden way. And then later on, many other verses, that this Krishna is actually the son of Nanda Maharaj, whereas in the eyes of Vasudeva and most others, they think that the son that he had, Krishna's expansion, was non-different, but different in terms of ras. It's the same person. And that is, that's his son. His son is within the body of Krishna. All the incarnations and avatars are within Krishna. Right? But thinking it's his son, that same Krishna is his son, he inquires, but he can't inquire directly because he doesn't want to give away to Nanda or to anyone that his son is there because Kamsa might find out. And Kamsa's already been on a rampage, having ordered the death of all the children in this greater area born in the last 10 days. So definitely they're worried. Right? So instead he inquires about Baladev, who is his son, right? From his wife Rohini. Then Nanda Maharaj answers. This is where we left off. So, let's see, let me make sure I got this proper here. Okay, that's good. That's good. Where am I? There we go. So, Shri Nanda Uvacha, Aho te Devaki Putra, Kanksena Bahavo Hata, Eka Vashishtava Varaja, Kanya Sapidivam Gata. Nanda Maharaj said, alas, King Kamsa killed so many of your children, born of Devaki. And your one daughter, the youngest child of all, entered the heavenly planets. Right? Bug. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, you have asked me questions about Braj, but what answer can I give? Seeing your suffering, I am suffering even more. With this in mind, Nanda responds to Vasudev's inquiries by describing the death of Vasudev's sons and his daughter. Vasudeva was relieved and blissful upon hearing the reply because now he understood that Nanda had not discovered that his child was placed in Jashoda's bed. Because as far as Nanda was concerned, he wasn't even aware of the daughter born to Jashoda. And they thought this was Vasudeva and Devaki's daughter. But at least they were relieved because the story went out. It was public knowledge now that this daughter chastised Kamsa and then ascended to the heavenly planets because she's a great goddess, right? So Vasudeva is relieved by that. Then, nunam hyadrishtanistojam adrishta paramojana adrishtam atmanastadvam yavedana samukyati. Oh, and before I read the translation, and one other thing, Nanda, in not just empathy, but in sympathy with the suffering of Vasudeva, says that he feels it even more in his own heart. This is another symptom of a great, great soul. They're always concerned with the suffering of others. Compassion is one of the qualities of a great Vaishnava. Even somebody situated in the mode of goodness, material goodness, they have that quality of compassion, selfless concern for others. And Nanda Maharaj, being topmost Vaishnava, is concerned for the welfare of his cousin, brother, and for all, and for all. So he goes on to say, every man is certainly controlled by destiny, which determines the results of one's fruitive activities. In other words, one has a son or daughter because of unseen destiny. And when the son or daughter is no longer present, this also is due to unseen destiny. Destiny is the ultimate controller of everyone. One who knows this is never bewildered. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, "O brother," he's quoting again, "O brother, though the ocean of calamity is difficult to cross, you can cross it on the boat of discrimination." So with this intention, Nanda speaks this verse. Man is ultimately under the control of destiny. Destiny gives happiness from children, but it also takes it away. Fate is supreme. It bestows children and also takes them away. There is no one equal to he who knows fate as the cause of happiness and distress. Therefore, you should not be in confusion. And this is a really important kind of fundamental truth. This is what ultimately makes the material world a place of unhappiness. Because you could have so much in this world, but no matter who you are, no matter what your situation, you're going to be separated from it. Gradually, as you age, if you have wonderful children, they'll grow up, they'll have their own life, they'll have children, you'll have grandchildren, but more and more separated. And then finally, everyone has to leave this world as they came in, empty-handed. And then, before you came into the world, you were unknown. And when you leave the world, you become unknown and forgotten. We place so much importance in our own lives, in our own reputation, but no matter who you are, in a very short time, it may take a generation or two, but ultimately everyone is forgotten. Everyone is forgotten. And unknown. What do you know about all the people in Europe, all the families, all the friends, the people in Asia? Billions and billions being born and dying all the time. That's really the unhappiness of the material world. Unless you understand, as Krishna instructed Arjuna, that we are not this body, we are soul. And our duty, our highest benefit, is to awaken the identity of the soul and go beyond this limited realm of birth and death, this Martya Loka. Right? And also one other point about compassion. Again, understanding this, the ultimate unhappiness of this world, if you do become a tattvagyani, someone who knows this truth, then compassion should be a hallmark of your nature. And in that very important verse from Sikshastakam, where Mahaprabhu tells us the essential qualities we have to cultivate in order to be able to chant the holy name properly, right? What's that verse? Tanad api sunichena tarod api sahishnana amanina manadena kirtanir sadahari. When he talks about being as tolerant as the tree, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, in his commentary on that verse, says tolerance of the tree also includes compassion. Right? So we have to become not only tolerant to sufferings inflicted on us, pains, whatever, demands made on us, things taken from us, abuses, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune that fall upon us in this world. But even in that tolerance, also having the additional quality of compassion towards those who may even be inflicting it. That's another level entirely. The tree will give everything to anyone without complaint, right? You want my bark, you want my limbs for firewood, you want my leaves for medicine, you want my fruits to eat, take them. And it doesn't even ask for water or anything in return. But hidden within that is the quality of compassion. And he says that this also is required that we cultivate. Because the Lord, as Yuga Avatar, has come of his own accord to give this to us all. His dear, dear servants have also come in his footsteps and made it their life's mission to deliver this to all, because he wants us all back with him. He has infinite love for all of his creation, all of us. And so, as you begin to progress yourself, and one of the signs of your progression is if you give up the hard-heartedness and the callousness that characterizes people in this world. So many people in this world, you almost have to develop a hard shell, right, just to endure the suffering around you. And a hard shell just to realize that things are going on all the time. If you get so caught up in it, then you're just always unhappy. Right? Oh, look what's going on here, this war, all this suffering there, this disease, this plague. You get consumed in it. Right? And then people lose their compassion because they just have no more to give. They just get squeezed dry. But when that compassion is illuminated by spiritual knowledge, then it's of a different nature. It becomes like a kalpavriksha tree. There's no exhaustion to it and no loss to you. As long as we're embodied, and because of false ego, even our emotions like compassion have some self-interest attached to them, right? We're always, like people that are philanthropists. It's very rare that a philanthropist would actually be selfless. You want to be recognized. You want to be acknowledged. That's why they always make a big show about whatever they give. And there's a big ribbon-cutting ceremony, and they get on the news, and they give them a medal, and everybody claps, right? Very rare that someone will be like that and give with no desire for recognition. Even then, subtly within, there's the happiness of knowing I'm a good person. I'm a generous person. Or I'm going to get really good karma from this, right? I'm doing this because now, as much as I'm enjoying in this life, the more I give, I'll have even better life next time. You can't separate self-interest from compassion in this world. But when you become enlightened spiritually, that compassion is indeed selfless because it's compassion aligned with the desires of Guru and Krishna. Guru, the representative, the dearest friend of the Lord. And then when we become really good disciples and we become absorbed in the desire of our Guru, our service becomes deeply intimate, then that kind of compassion. But we could start out with lesser compassion, just like in our sadhana and bhakti, where we're starting out, we're performing these acts. It's mixed. We have mixed desires, but the actions of sadhana, actions of bhakti, under guidance of Sri Guru, they're purifying us step by step of all the anarthas. So bhajana kriya, then anartha navriti. So step by step. So then Vasudeva replies to Nanda Maharaj, Shri Vasudeva uvacha, Karovai varshiko dato, ragye drishta vayam chava, neha steham bahutitam, syant utpatash chagokule. Vasudeva said to Nanda Maharaj, now, my dear brother, since you have paid the annual taxes to Kamsa, and have also seen me, do not stay in this place for many days. It is better to return to Gokul, since I know that there may be some disturbances there. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that after hearing this advice from Nanda, Vasudeva spoke what he had come to say, which was a warning. Certainly you have paid the annual tax to the king. Do not stay here for a long time, for there are many disturbances in Gokul. And then, last verse, Sri Shukadev Goswami said, after Vasudeva advised Nanda Maharaj in this way, Nanda Maharaj and his associates, the cowherd men, took permission from Vasudeva, yoked their bulls to the bullock carts, and started riding for Gokul. Right? And so they lived very close, actually. At this time, remember, they're living in Mahavan. If Mathura is here, and the Yamuna is here, Vrindavan's across the Jamuna, and Mahavan's almost adjacent to Mathura, right? So they're pretty close. Okay, now we're going to read this chapter 6 about killing the demon Putana. We'll see how far we get. And then I have to decide, because Sri Radhastami is coming up in about, what's today's date, 19th? So 10 days, 10, 11 days. So at some point we want to start diving into Radha Tattva, pastimes of Srimati Radhika, immersing us in the mood of her service, just like we did with Sri Krishna, just like we did with Lord Balaram, like we always do on these days. But for now, let's continue, because now Krishna's in Vrindavan, and it's just a few days after he's been born, and immediately we're going to get insights into remarkable pastimes, but the how these pastimes are seen by different kinds of devotees. So this is chapter 6. Shri Shuka Uvacha Nanda Pativacha Shaurer Namarasheti Vichintayan Harim Jagama Sharanam Upatagama Shakti Shankita. Shukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, while Nanda Maharaj was on the way home, he considered that what Vasudeva had said could not be false or useless. There must have been some danger of disturbances in Gokul. As Nanda Maharaj thought about the danger for his beautiful son Krishna, he was afraid, and he took shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Controller. All right, this is what a devotee does. You can't avoid the troubles of this world, and these pastimes illustrate that. Even in Krishna's own Boma Vrindavan, the demons are coming, with permission from Yogamaya, but to show us. I mean, otherwise they couldn't get in if Yogamaya didn't let them. Remember later, when Kamsa tries to, frustrated with the series of failed attempts at Krishna's life by all of his associates, he went to Vrindavan personally to try to kill Krishna. Well, I'll do it then. But at the border, he was met by Purnamasi, right? Yogamaya. Purnamasi appearing like, because she's the grandmother of Madhu Mangal, right? Mother of, what name of Krishna's teacher in Avanti. I was taking this medicine for my memory. Hasn't worked. It'll come in a minute or two. And I'll blurt it out. Yeah, Sandipani Muni. I know it began with an S. The school, Sandipani Muni school. Anyway, he's the father of Madhu Mangal. And so she appears there and says, where are you going? And he says, I'm going to Vrindavan. No, you can't enter. He tries to enter. She takes him and just pushes him with great ease. And he falls into a mud puddle and he transforms into an old lady. Right? Very weak, very helpless. And she begins to torment him, slap his cheeks, insult him. Oh, what will you do? You're going to, you think you're going to kill our Krishna? And then she says, now, old woman, and it orders her, make some cow patties, do this, do that. And Kamsa, in that old woman's body and with old woman's emotions, he used to cry and weep and, oh, please let me go. Okay, go back to Mathura then, and promise never to come back. And he says, but I can't go back there like this. If I go back, no one will believe that I'm Kamsa. And so she relents and turns him back into Kamsa. And then he goes running off like a scalded dog, right? Hey, back to Mathura. Nobody gets into Vrindavan except by the mercy of Yogamaya. Right? So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says about this, in this chapter, Putana assumes a beautiful form and appears in Braj. Upon dying, Putana revealed her actual form of a Rakshasi, female eater of human flesh. Nevertheless, Putana attained liberation by the mercy of Krishna. Her body is burned and Nanda returns to Braj from Mathura. So this is all happening while Nanda is in Mathura briefly. So, Kamsena Prahita Gorda Putana Balagatini Shishums Chachara Nignanti Puragrama Vajadishu. While Nanda Maharaj was returning to Gokul, the same fierce Putana, whom Kamsa had previously engaged to kill babies, was wandering about in the towns, cities, and villages doing her nefarious duty. So she's been in other villages and towns, not Vrindavan. She hasn't come into the greater Braj yet, but she has been engaged killing children, drinking their blood. Na yatra shavanadini raksho grinani swakamasu kurvanti satvatam bhartur yatu danyas chatatrahi. My dear king, wherever people in any position perform their occupational duties of devotional service by chanting and hearing, there cannot be any danger from bad elements. Therefore, there was no need for anxiety about Gokul while the Supreme Personality of Godhead was personally present. So, Chakravarti Thakur explains, this verse is spoken to allay the fears of Maharaj Parikshit for Krishna's safety. Why would Maharaj Parikshit fear for Krishna's safety? He's a grandson of Arjuna. He knows the whole history, but this is a pure devotee. Hearing this from another great devotee, eternal associate of Radha and Krishna, and as we see in Gopal Champu, the extraordinary nature of that exchange when this recitation is going on, it's Shabda Brahman. The pastimes of Krishna are non-different from Krishna himself. We can't grasp that. Krishna's name is non-different from himself. When they hear these recitations, their hearts and minds go to that. They hear it, they envision it. And in some cases, like when we heard Madhukant and Snigdhakant describing all these pastimes to Nanda Maharaj in the assembly at his place in Nandagan, the devotees have become so immersed that at the end of the story, sometimes Madhukant or Snigdhakant would have to rouse them out of their trance and assure them, because sometimes it might be about Krishna being away in Dwarka. Oh, Nanda Maharaj, take heart, your son, he's right next to you. Or in the evening, speaking to Radhika in some other way. Oh, Radhika, Krishna is with you right here. Don't lament. They become so absorbed. And when they were describing the stories of the demons, all the inhabitants of Braj are feeling those same emotions, the great fear and anxiety. Certainly it's a transformation of prema, but it's not a transformation that you want to stay in. It's a transitory emotion, right? And so they have to be roused, right? So this verse is spoken to allay the fears of Maharaj Parikshit for Krishna's safety. In those places where people engage in scriptural duties, like sacrifices without devotional acts, such as hearing stories of the Lord, who is the life of the devotees, the Rakshasis become powerful. But Rakshasis have no influence where the primary activities are acts of devotion. What to speak of the place where the Lord is personally present? So, we have experience at times of very challenging things coming forth in our communities and to our persons. And sometimes we experience the direct protection of the Lord, either thwarting it or even in the midst of it, we are not afflicted or affected by it, right? But sometimes you see terrible things happening to devotees. But he's talking about here pure hearing and chanting, pure Vaishnavas like in Vrindavan. And sometimes even there may be something that appears to be very distressing, very terrible happening to devotees. But in that case, it's by the hand of the Lord himself. Like on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, there are many on that battlefield that were great pure devotees of the Lord who were killed. They had to be killed. After the battle, Krishna's own dynasty, right, had to be destroyed, and so he arranged for the situation where they all began to fight with one another and kill each other, because no one else could. That the Yadavas are so powerful, who could remove them? Krishna wanted them removed from the earth, so he arranged for them to have a big festivity, and then there was apparently a drunken brawl where they all killed each other. But that's another pastime, right? And they were promoted back to their spiritual world. Right? So sometimes there will be situations where devotees are put into danger and experience even tragic ends. But then according to the elevation of the devotee, they'll get an improved situation. Right? Since everyone has to leave their body at some time or other anyway, if they are high-class devotees, and they just go to their next pastime with the Lord. If they're practicing devotees like us, they may be relieved of their current condition, and because of their devotion and their remembrance of the Lord in the face of all danger and the sacrifice they make, they are also elevated and promoted. The body, it's temporary. Nobody laments about losing a coat or a sweater if you get a new one, a better one, right? So, like that. But in general, he's saying that wherever, and whenever they say chanting and hearing, they mean pure chanting and hearing, right? It's not like nam aparad, right? Sometimes we see devotees in our communities afflicted, and well, they're chanting and all, but are they chanting? Is it real chanting or is it nam aparad? One time, one devotee had an accident, and Giridhar Maharaj was just Giridhar Brahmachari at the time, asked Gurudev, said, how could this happen to him because he's a devotee? And it says that anyone who's chanted, even Namabas would be freed from such a reaction. Maybe he wasn't even chanting Namabas, and Gurudev said, perhaps not. Perhaps not. He was speaking, that when the scriptures describe the benefits of chanting, sometimes they'll specifically mention Namabas, like in this story of Ajamil. But otherwise, if not clarified, it's meaning Shuddhanam. So wherever there's Shuddha Kirtan, Shuddha Shravanam, right? No danger from bad elements. And if there appears to be something that afflicts a devotee, like the Pandavas, right, and Kunti, she says, oh, no problem for us. We were never disturbed by this because we were always remembering you. Right? So we want to become transcendental. We have to improve our hearing and chanting. That's why it's good. Now everybody's coming to class every day. This is a very good thing. Very, very good thing. And sometimes you feel really tired. You think, oh, when's this going to be over? Trying my best, but I'm sleepy. But don't worry, because everything that you're hearing, it's going into your heart. Seeds are being planted, and without your knowing, we're making advancement. Anartha-nivritti is taking place. So, once upon a time, Putana Rakshasi, who could move according to her desire and was wandering in outer space, converted herself by mystic power into a very beautiful woman, and thus entered Gokul, the abode of Nanda Maharaj. So she's been killing babies everywhere. Now she's entering the transcendental abode, right? Krishna's Dham. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, to enact the pastime of killing Putana, Krishna's Leela Shakti inspired Putana to enter Gokul as if invited by death to be killed. With this intention, the verse is spoken. One evening, Putana entered Gokul by flying through the sky. An alternate reading is arriving. By mystic power, Putana took on the form of a beautiful woman. Okay? All the Rajbasis were so much enamored by Putana's beauty that they gave her access to all the houses in town. Though the Lord's illusory energy has no desire, by the will of the Lord, Putana displayed her illusions just like a magician to bewilder the eternal devotees of Braj and to unfold the transcendental pastimes of Krishna. So all of this is aided by the internal potency. The external potency can't bewilder liberated personalities. They're constantly under the influence of Yogamaya. But Yogamaya Mahamaya, that external energy, is an expansion of Yogamaya. So she's exercising her own potency here, but by the will of Yogamaya, fulfilling Krishna's desire for this pastime, then they become bewildered. And they just see this most beautiful woman, thinking that maybe this is Lakshmi herself. And the Brajbasis, being of good heart, are just very accommodating. Well, welcome, welcome. And all their doors are open to her. But she goes first, again, by the influence of Yogamaya, that now you go first to the house of Nanda Maharaj. And what's a description of her? Her hips were full. Her breasts were large and firm, seeming to overburden her slim waist. And she was dressed very nicely. Her hair, adorned with a garland of malika flowers, was scattered about her beautiful face. Her earrings were brilliant, and she smiled very attractively, glancing upon everyone. Her beauty drew the attention of all the inhabitants of Braj, especially the men. When the gopis saw her, they thought that the beautiful goddess of fortune, holding a lotus flower in her hand, had come to see her husband, Krishna. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, seeing that beautiful woman holding a lotus flower in her hands, the gopis concluded that she was Lakshmi, the embodiment of all wealth and jewels. She must have come to see her husband, Narayan, the worshipful family deity of Nanda Maharaj. I like it whenever they say that Nanda Maharaj worships Lord Narayan, because, you know, in the different sampradayas, there's always some difference which form of the Lord is the absolute and supreme, right? And generally, Lord Narayan is considered to be supreme. Krishna in Vrindavan is considered to be a special expansion of Narayan to perform human-like pastimes. But because they're human-like, they're much less than what's going on in Vaikuntha, where there's so much majesty and glory, and this is God, and his helmet is made of diamonds, and all the opulence and splendor, that's God. And so he comes down to earth to do this fun play in Vrindavan, but they can't understand that what qualifies and determines the speciality or the level of Bhagavata is the prem, the level of prem, the speciality of the exchange of love between the Lord and his devotees. And in Vaikuntha, the exchange of love is restricted, right, by the knowledge that this is God, and it's Shantaras and it's Dasyaras, but even not full Dasyaras. In Vrindavan, however, all the rasas are fully present, but they are informed or influenced completely by sweetness and intimacy. And even what appears to be Shanta and Dasya, like there are trees who you would think would be Shantaras, and there are servants like Raktak, Patrak, and there are deer and animals and birds, but they are not of the nature of Shanta or even Dasya. They may take the activities of that, but their moods are and their prem is much, much higher. And they all participate and assist in Krishna's topmost leelas, like the trees and the creepers and the flowers. They're assisting in Krishna's Sakya Ras, Vatsalya Ras, and Madhurya Ras. And they feel intimate with Krishna, like friends, or like the parents of his flute. And the cows are like, they feel like they're his mother, and the calves are like his friends. You know, it's all of a so much higher level, right? But we don't care if they worship Lord Narayan as the Supreme Lord. I mean, after all, Nanda Maharaj, he worships Lord Narayan as the Supreme Lord. Yes, Narayan is God. Krishna is our dearmost friend. Krishna is our beloved, right? Yes, certainly Lord Narayan. From the point of tattva, we understand Krishna as the Supreme Swayam Bhagavan. But from the position of Ras, he's the Prince of Vrindavan. So one time, Srila Nanda Maharaj said, and it's something that shouldn't misunderstand, but he said, your Swami Maharaj, your Prabhupada has come to teach you that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I have come to help you forget that. So he's not minimizing what Srila Prabhupada is teaching. We have to know this. We have to know Krishna's Bhagavatam. But one day, we'll come to a standard of love where that gets dropped and discarded, and then we see Krishna like the Brajbasis do. Right? So, she must have come to see her husband Narayan, the worshipful family deity of Nanda Maharaj. Putana had full hips and large firm breasts, which contrasted her thin waist. She was so extremely attractive that the Brajbasis let her enter the inner chambers of their houses without obstruction. Balagrahastatta vichinvati shishun yadrchayananda grihe sanantakam balam pratachana najoru tejasam dadarshatalpe gadanam vitambasi. While searching for small children, Putana, whose business was to kill them, entered the house of Nanda Maharaj unobstructed, having been sent by the superior potency of the Lord. Without asking anyone's permission, she entered Nanda Maharaj's room, where she saw the child sleeping in bed, his unlimited power covered like a powerful fire covered by ashes. She could understand that this child was not ordinary, but was meant to kill all demons. The Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Putana, the killer of children, the Balagraha, baby catcher, saw the child who, though he himself is the killer of the wicked, appeared easy to kill. At that time, Krishna concealed his unlimited powers, just as a fire is sometimes covered by ashes. So, the extent of his power she could not detect, and yet she still could see that, oh, he is a special child. Couldn't be completely covered, and he could grow to become the killer of all demons. But right now, she's thinking, he's just a baby, and I have to kill him, right? And she's looking forward to it. I get such excitement by this. She's just been on a rampage, killing so many demons, and she came to killing so many children. She came to Braj to kill all the children there. She hasn't started yet, but after she killed Krishna, she was thinking, then she'll kill all the children in Braj. Krishna knows this. Okay. So the next part is where the interaction between Putana and Krishna, and there are many delightful points that are brought out, and we'll begin that tomorrow. Cliffhanger. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Putana's there. Is she going to kill him? So we'll stop here. Okay, let's see. So, I have to close this. All right, so we offer obeisance. Oh, I always do this wrong. I should. Anyway, we offer obeisance to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, Shukadev Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.